Welcome to the Porsche Club Insider, your one stop for all things Porsche and PCA. Here's your host, Vu Gwyn, and the Insider crew.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 81. We are at the PCA National Office. Around the table, we have Manny, Audrain, Damon, Lowney, and of course, we have Robert Forsyth at the controls. And I'm feeling a little giddy today because by the time people listen to this, we'll be less than a week away from the big event.
It will come out the Monday that we land in, well, you won't, but the whole staff will be landing in San Jose.
Yeah, Monday, right?
For our trek down to Laguna and setting up for Rennsport. So hopefully, if you're listening to this, you're on your drive to Rennsport. Some people have posted pictures already of.
Some people are already on the road.
Well, I mean, of Laguna Seca, where they're already building and setting up. They had the drivers in there this past weekend, and David Bunch, our corral guru, he posted some pictures of all the work they've done so far, and they're going to be working like 10 days straight, he said, setting everything up.
Well, I wish all of you that are traveling west to the event safe travels and can't wait to see you there. I've, like I said, I saw some people posting that they are already on their way because some of them live quite far. And one that really stood out was our buddy Mark Probanik with his very special 356. That is completely hardcore. And the thing is, he's not even making a beeline to Rennsport reunion. He is taking like a back road, see some friends. It's good for him.
Unlike Rob, Mark knows how to fix his car. Not that Rob isn't a mechanic, but Mark knows how to fix it, which is helpful in 356 because
you have to. I think that's a prerequisite, right?
The maintenance schedules are so much different than on the modern car.
Yeah,
and knowing how to fix certain things that helps you. But yeah, he's hardcore. This car doesn't have. So his drum brakes, it's patinaed to heck. It's looks awesome.
Yeah.
But it's not the first time he's done this either.
No. We've seen his car on the West Coast many a time. So, Mark, if you're listening, safe travels to you and to everyone else, and enjoy the trip out there too. Like we've said earlier, for those of you that can't make it, we are definitely going to capture as much as we can so that we can share it with you on the different mediums that PCA hosts. But late breaking news, I want to share, or maybe have Manny share, the news that we might have someone new at the helm of Porsche Cars North America.
Yes, so we talked about this a few episodes ago, that the rumor mill was Timo Resch was going to be coming from BMW, the motorcycle brand. Now, before you say, what, a motorcycle guy coming to run Porsche Cars North America, he was actually he's been with Porsche longer than he has been with BMW.
And he's very familiar with Porsche and with PCA.
Yes. One of our friends, Paul Greger, we were talking about it offline, taking guesses who it was going to be. And I mentioned Timo, and he was like, well, that's great. He goes, you actually know him? And I said, I do? He goes, yeah, you and Vu, you knew him back when he first started. He took a new position on. And so I'm glad to hear that he's the Porsche person.
I believe his official title when he was last with PCNA was market or product planning, right, and research.
Yeah, so we would have met him at some point because of that.
Yep, very cool. So you heard it here first. So let's talk about what we did last week. We had some great string of weather here in Maryland, so hopefully you all got to do some fun car stuff. Or did you just...
Not at all.
You just relaxed?
I just relaxed. I've been... it's been so busy that...
Well, you went on that whirlwind trip, so you probably had a big honeydew list when you came back.
Yeah, no, I haven't wanted to work. The Mazda 3 getting it ready after, the Golf was totaled and the Porsche, I did a bunch of work on it to, a little over a year ago, and the Camry... I think has a dead coil pack. I'm crossing my fingers. I don't want to work on any cars right now. It's been it's been like a month. I just don't want to.
Sometimes you need to just take a break. I totally get it, especially when there's a full plate at work and and travel and stuff like that.
I have one working car out of 3 cars right now. So
hey, some people don't have cars at all.
Exactly. So I'm not going to mess with anything.
Be grateful.
Grateful for what you have. Manny and I, we had a great show. We attended. You go there almost every weekend, and that's a Hunt Valley horsepower show. That was like 500, 600 cars.
This was one weekend a month Will, the organizer, he sets up a corner of the lot for 40 cars. This time it was BMW. I would joke with him. I said, every weekend is Porsche Club or Porsche parking, so we don't need special parking. We come every week. But yeah, they had them all in the corner all day. You didn't know that.
I didn't even know that, and I happened to bring.
I should have asked you when you said you were coming. What car are you bringing? Because I assumed you were going to bring a Porsche.
No, I hadn't driven my 1983 320 IS in a long time, so I figured I'd dust it off and put some miles under it. So I drove that, but I didn't park with the BMW crew. Although I'm sure I would have been welcomed, and I would have had I known. But anyways, it was a great day. Saw some very cool cars. We saw some. What was that older car that we saw that was kind of neat? That big. It was like a boat, American boat. It was like was that a Pontiac or?
Oh,
and it had like it was
61. It wasn't
Plymouth. No,
it wasn't LeBaron. It was.
I don't know.
It would not fit in my garage.
It was a 1959. I think I remember. It was a 1959 like old American car.
It had fins because by 59 I think the fins were dying, weren't they? I thought it was a 60 something.
It was very Art Deco. Like the headlights, instead of being recessed, it was like the buckets. You could see the buckets, but then the car's design was like around the back of the buckets of the headlight. It was really kind of cool.
Yeah.
But you could tell, like, if you needed parts for that car, it would be so hard to find. And when we were talking to the owner, he's like, yeah, I have a second parts car. That's how you have parts for a car like that.
Yeah, this thing made my my Suburban look small.
Yeah. So after that, I went.
It is a Chrysler LeBaron.
Oh, it is a Chrysler LeBaron?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
This was
59 LeBaron. Very cool looking car.
Yeah, it was.
But man,
because the rear lights were almost the same. They were like detached.
Yeah,
it's very
very cool car. Can't be many of those.
When I think of Chrysler LeBaron, I think of I think it's a 1980s
80s LeBaron.
What is the K car with the convertible? Looks all dinky, front wheel drive.
Yep. Let's see. So once I got back, I wanted to tend to my Fox body because I had this noise in the back. I think I talked about it in a podcast before, and it was the bushings on the shock that actually deteriorated and just came apart. So I think Robert had some photos, but anyways, I got some new Eibach Pro dampers, and I had a few minutes. And
is that what you were sticking in your pocket when we did the tour?
What's that?
Is that what you were putting in your pocket when we did the tour of Eibach?
Shock? Oh no. No. But happy to rep them. So I had back in the day, Saline had Formula GP. Monroe, I think, made them shocks, and yeah, they were.
Did you drive that in the snow?
I did. I used to drive my car in the snow.
It's very salty.
Yeah. So, anyways, the new ones went on, but you know how you buy tools sometimes because you think it's a great idea, but then you buy them and they just kind of sit in your toolbox for a long time. Well, I finally got to use one of the tools I bought way back in the day. So you see how the top of the strut was double nutted, but I really didn't have room to get a wrench down at the bottom nut so that I can loosen up the top nut. So I got to finally use my crow's feet wrench set.
Well, I've used those a lot.
Do you use
what
those
do
a
I
lot?
use? There's certain things, and I want to say with I know I used them. I believe when I was doing work on the Porsche or the Camry, going as deep as like they come in really useful when you.
I mean,
them.
it was the perfect because I was looking. I was like, how am I? I was like, I didn't want to take the panel off and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, I have the crow's feet.
It's a Mustang metric or SE?
Metric. Well, all that stuff that I just was working on there was metric. Yeah.
Actually, you know what I use the crow's feet for? I think is tightening the top mounts of on the Porsche on the Öhlins. So depending on how they are, you can get a crow's foot piece down there.
Yeah.
But you can't get a normal
wrench,
and you obviously the crow's foot allows you to put the Allen key on top to hold the strut tube in place.
That's pretty much what I use here to get to that.
Why are you wearing gloves that look like you're about to go welding?
Those are just rubber gloves.
That's rubber gloves?
Yeah, those are rubber gloves.
So if you're watching on YouTube, that previous picture, that was the top of the strut?
Top of the shock.
Top of
that is the rear shock.
Okay, I see. That's a trim piece.
Oh yeah, that's a trim piece.
It's buried in a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, so that's an access panel, and it's got like insulation.
So you used it exactly how I used it.
Yeah, so it's perfect. Yeah. It was perfect. So it was nice to finally use a tool that I bought I don't know how long ago.
That's a tool that if you don't know about and you don't know that you need it.
Yeah.
Like, how would you even know to look for it? But yeah, a crow's foot, it's like a wrench, but it's just the end of a wrench that
Right.
you can put onto a ratchet. And
So
it'll
handy when
and
you need it.
Exactly, when you need it, or if you need to torque something and need extra access.
Yeah. So, anyways, got that done and took it for a quick spin, and lo and behold, nice and quiet and smooth. So I'm happy there. And then I finally got to do a nice close look. I want to give a shout out to Brian Rice and Polish to Perfection. They had an opportunity to do a segment on dry ice with Motor Trend, and he needed a donor car, and he called me and asked me if he could use my '87 911. And I honestly, he gave it back to me, and I really hadn't had the time to take a close look at how clean it became. And what's interesting is, I think Manny has talked about this, like going into working on a car with dry ice, like it's almost like where's the end? You got to make a decision of where the end is, because cleaning something that's 40 years old, you could spend the rest of your life cleaning.
It's like a power washer. You mean to wash off your deck, and the next thing you're doing your siding.
Yeah, exactly.
And because it makes the other things look bad, and pretty soon it's turned into a major problem.
But it is quite amazing. So there's that. Do you know what you're looking at right there, Damon? Mm-hmm. So that is the adjustable piece for the front suspension of
torsion bar.
Of the torsion bar.
That's a torsion
bar.
bar.
That's how you
lower the front
set
end.
the ride height. That's how clean dry ice gets. But yet it's still like it didn't take the what is it, the thread locker, right? It took all the dirt and the grime, but it left the thread locker. Like, how cool is that? And like the decals, and they did this specifically to show it in Motor Trend, like the decals around the shock and the decals on the engine. It took all this road grime off, but when they sprayed it on the decal and stuff, it didn't mess up the decal. So dry ice is definitely really cool. Takes a ton of time. And, when you remove the grime, what's below the grime is exposed, obviously. So keep in mind that if the metal is aged, it'll still look like aged metal. It's not going to clean it off and all of a sudden the metal underneath.
It'll rust if you don't protect it.
Yeah, exactly. And if you don't protect it, and, there's more to it than just, I guess the analogy of you taking a pressure hose to your deck, let's say. Yes, it does clean off, but there's some decisions you need to make when you get into it, because
like
especially
don't start the job like paying super close attention to one spot and then realize that, oh man,
you got the rest
I have to do the same amount. Like, you almost have to just say, are you going to do one coat of dry ice, or are you going to go through it twice?
Right.
And then you just got to throw your hands up when you're done, right?
So as I was doing that and looking at everything, for the past couple of years, when it gets cold here in Maryland and I have the car just kind of sitting on the rack, like it leaks oil. And I know it's coming from one of my oil return tubes on the 911. So I just happened to, as I was looking underneath, I tried to kind of feel the rotation of my oil return tubes on the engine. And lo and behold, the one that's leaking a lot is one that you can actually, fairly easily rotate. So I think that's going to be a winter job there to replace my oil return tubes. All of them except for one actually are pretty snug, but the one that's loose is really loose. So, Manny, have you ever replaced oil return tubes?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The oil return?
Yeah.
I probably.
Yeah.
Me personally?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
I hate to make a mess in my garage. It's
So you have to crush the tube, and then they pop out, and then the new ones, they are they're
you
like
talking about
two
a push
pieces.
rod tube seals?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and they're like a two-piecer, and they expand with a circlip. So I have everything. So I'll probably attempt it in the winter just to tighten things up, because it does kind of make a mess in the winter when it gets cold and the seals collapse. So, all right, let's see. Anything else about the weekend? Because I want to talk about Unstock. Can we do that?
Works for
Well,
me.
I want to bring up one little thing I realized.
Okay. Yeah.
So this Saturday, of course, we're only going to Rennsport on Monday, but my wife and I signed up for the Chesapeake Challenge, which is the Chesapeake region's used to be multi-day event. Now it's multi-event, one day. So they do a concours, not time speed distance, a gimmick rally, fun rally, and then they do a tech quiz. They used to have an autocross on the next day, but they've kind of consolidated it. Anyways, back in '89, my wife and my girlfriend at the time, now my wife,
I was gonna say his
My
wife and his
my
girlfriend.
I
Okay,
was like,
I
wait
see.
a minute,
that
you
clear?
mean your wife slash girlfriend?
I went with a hot little blonde that we ended up marrying. She was 20 and I was 23. Think about that. That's almost like the age of your daughter.
Okay, you had to do that to me.
But to put in perspective,
Think about it, Vu.
how long ago,
Yeah.
But, so we saw this ad in Excellence magazine. Now this is before obviously the internet.
Yeah.
And so everything was done through magazines or newspapers or in the mail, snail mail. And we saw this little ad in the back of Excellence that I was advertising this event in Maryland.
Oh.
Porsche Cars Show, Concours. So I told Roxanne, I'm like, let's go look at it because I wasn't a member of the club. I was 23, driving a lowly 924.
And how long did you have the 924 then?
I bought it when I was 18.
Oh wow,
5
you were an
years.
owner that long before you became part of the club.
Yeah, I was working at Macy's selling TVs, and one of my customers came in, and he had a shirt on or something that said Porsche, and I asked him if he had one. He had a 911 SC. So anyways, we became friends, and he would drop off panoramas every once in a while. But still, I didn't join
But
the
still
club.
you didn't join.
Because I thought, I only saw in Panorama were guys with turbos and 911s. I'm like, I'm a lowly 924. They won't even let me into the club.
I'm not worthy.
And everyone looked much older. But it wasn't, because they looked older didn't bother me. It was the fact that this looked like more like a country club, not what I thought a group of enthusiasts.
Right.
So anyways, we go to really to look at cars, not to join a club. And they are so welcoming, the region. And I've told the story plenty of times when I used to give speeches as president that, 10 in the morning, they call over the membership charity, comes over with a Pabst Blue Ribbon in one hand and a membership app in the other and says, welcome to the club. And at that point, I realized this can't be up too stuffy if they're drinking PBR at 10 in the morning at a car show. So we joined, and from that point on, I think the next day I came back for the autocross, and I helped out the volunteer, picking up cones and stuff. And from that point, it was, as they say, it's history. Yeah. So it was 34 years ago, and we're going again. We always go to the challenge whenever we can. But I think the bigger picture is, and for anyone listening that's a PCA member, or maybe not a PCA member, but a Porsche enthusiast, come out to the events. Mm-hmm. Let's just say half of our members never come to an event. They just get the magazine.
Yeah, more than that, probably.
Probably more than that. Yeah. I think the rule has always been 10%. And an event, you can expect no more than 10% of your membership, which is usually fine because that's
capacity.
Usually the max capacity.
Max capacity,
but there's a lot of people who just join the club either for discounts, for the magazine, for whatever reason they have never come to an event. And so an opportunity for them to come to an event like Works Reunion or Unstock is great. And, of course, locally there's events that everyone has that doesn't cost anything for these people to come watch. And car shows are perfect for that.
I will say that going to a local event is even more important than going to a national event, because that's where you're going to meet friends, like-minded people that are in your area, that you're going to get to do fun stuff during the week, during the weekend. Yes, come to a national event, don't get me wrong, but I think it's more important for you to be active and see who PCA members are locally, because that's where it really
that's one of the reasons also nationally we don't charge like Unstock. If you can walk, Unstock's free, but Works Reunion, if you can get a ride or you can walk into the golf course, which some people did in Monterey, knock yourself out. No one's checking for anything. We're just charging for parking because that's what the golf course charges us to park. Even Parade for the Concours, they never turn anybody who just wants to come hang out and watch. So I would say to people who are just on the fence about whether or not they want to participate in PCA, come on out. To the organizers and to the leadership, I would say do everything to be inclusive, not exclusive.
Absolutely.
That's one thing about PCA that we're different than Ulster Cult or even Rennsport, is that we're completely inclusive. And that's one of the reasons why we wanted to manage the corrals, because we didn't want to have a thing where you had to reach a certain level. Your car had to be such shape to be able to park in a corral. It's basically first come, first serve. You buy the ticket, we're not going to judge you in your car. You just come and hang out.
Exactly. All right. So speaking of Chesapeake Challenge, I have also been kind of eyeballing the weather forecast. So hopefully things work out for them.
Yeah, we're using wipers. But I reminded somebody, I'm like, it rained last year. I remember
still fun.
Bob Guyer and I did it in the rain in my 964. And Yeah, air conditioning worked, so it was the frosting or the fogging rather, and we ended up winning the rally in the rain.
You want to go through some Rennsport updates?
So of course, there's going to be autograph sessions twice a day at the PCA tent as well as the main paddock area. And once again, download that app because the app should have who's speaking. They certainly have right now what time. And there's a lot going on, so much going on throughout the day. But autograph session, if you're the person who likes autographs or you may want to get your poster autographed, get there early to the autograph sessions because they're limited. They're only an hour. So at some point they're going to cut the line off because, these legends have to be moving somewhere else to do. They're pretty high demand where they're needed. But one of the things I'm bringing is so Lego has a 963 that they put out, and my goal is to get all the drivers, factory drivers, to sign it.
Oh, that would be cool.
I saw those. They were selling those at the duty-free shop at the Paris airport.
They also sell them
Crazy
at the Walmart shop in most any place in USA.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, this is although the French version might have been much more cool than the American version.
It looked roughly the
It's
same.
the same.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's pretty cool. It's like the perfect size to carry with you.
Yeah, size of
And
like a
get,
Kleenex box.
the Dane Cameron, Nick Tandy. It doesn't have a number on it, so it can be any of the 963s.
So I would recommend a silver Sharpie
yes,
for
a
that
silver
box.
Sharpie.
Yeah.
And
And how much does that retail for?
I think I saw it for $20 at Walmart.
There you go.
Yeah, it's not.
Not bad. Easy
Not
to
much.
carry, lightweight.
Yeah, last time I think Rennsport 2 Mini Champs had just come out with the Porsche Le Mans set that had 8 cars inside of it, and so I got him to sign the outside of the box, this box set.
Yeah.
And I still have it on display, and I was looking at it, and unfortunately, half the people that signed it are no longer with us.
Oh,
And I'm like, wow, I'm like this.
That's
It really
fair.
bites because I was looking through my collection to see what can I bring with me to get some of these guys to sign.
yeah.
And like when we were talking about Willie Caulston's going to be there, he drove the famous Pink Pig 917.
Yep, I'm definitely bringing it.
But like Vic Alford, he left us. So
I know.
there's a couple 118th scale cars I would have loved for him to sign again.
Yeah.
But it's so anyways, look at the schedule. Remember Friday is the screening of Transformers, and I believe they're going to have a panel beforehand.
Yeah.
Talking about the making of the movie. Saturday is the free concert. We can't say who it is, although I would imagine by the time you get to the track, the rumor has to get out.
Yeah.
It's a pretty big 70s, 80s band. I kind of feel bad telling people to come to this because I want to have front row.
Just go, and we'll share space.
Yeah,
somehow.
I've told my Cars and Coffee friends they're all really pumped to see this band. To them, it's like the bonus of the whole event that they weren't expecting to be able to see. Not Taylor Swift, unfortunately. Not Taylor Swift.
Oh,
so.
Boggs will be bummed.
Yeah, but yeah, look at the schedule. If you're going for more than one day, just walk around. Spend a couple hours just walking around and getting your bearings where everything's at. Especially if it's the first time you're at Laguna. Get a ride up to the top of the corkscrew with Porsche has their own cars. They're doing shuttles. 3 people, 4 people in a car, be a Cayenne or a Panamera or a Taycan. And at the top this year, they have a beer garden.
Nice.
So you can get your fluids replenished
There you go.
before you walk back down or take a ride back down.
Cool. All right. Well, last week we opened up registration for Unstock 2023, which we will be, is it Vista, California, just outside of San Diego? I think it's Vista.
I just know it is HRE Wheels headquarters.
HRE.
North County, San Diego.
Yeah.
North
So
County.
we'll be with HRE Wheels.
It's very
and-
close to Ilko's house.
Yes.
Is it
Yeah.
Vista or San Marcos? Now I'm forgetting for some
Vista.
reason.
It says
I
Vista.
think he lives in San Marcos or something like
Yeah,
that.
it's Vista. I'm pretty sure it's Vista.
They're close to each
So
other.
we're looking forward to hosting that event. So what I thought we would do today is to talk about, because Unstock is all about modified Porsches. Let's talk about your best Porsche mod and your worst Porsche mod. So let's go with worst first. So what's the worst mod you've done on your Porsche that you regretted? I'll let Damon go first.
So it wasn't really a single mod. It was just a whole idea and not thinking through how I would execute it. But so I bought a 944 S2 in 2007. early 2007. So I had a Volkswagen Corrado, sold that, bought a 944 S2. The S2 had already had the coilovers up front, the yellows, and it had 28 millimeter torsion bars in the rear, and the rear seats, had been deleted, but everything else was basically the same. Some holes for a harness bar for belts and all that stuff. But otherwise, just suspension, and the previous owner had swapped in a OE limited slip differential. So sounds like a really good car. Right?
Sounds like a good car.
Really great car. So I decided to take it a step further, thinking that my first idea was, man, I hate these linen interiors. I'm going to make it black. So I took out all the carpeting, and everything, and started trying to put in and buying, black interior pieces. And, at that point, I had never realized that the interiors of a early and late 944 were different. So, I bought a bunch of stuff that didn't fit.
Oh, no.
And then I realized, oh, boy, this is going to be expensive if I want to do it right. So I switched and said, I want to make this into a street legal track car, like visually as well. So I left all the carpeting off because it wouldn't stick right, and I didn't have the right door cards, and I didn't have a lot of money. So I started scraping off all the joint sealer on the bottom, and then I was going to spray paint it, a nice white or gray, and at some point roll cage or roll bar would be in there. It would be all nice. And of course, just out of college, and I was working for Excellence at the time, so intern and then early employee. And I just, not enough money to really do that right. So I ended up just taking the interior out, getting halfway done scraping off the joint sealer, and the car sat for a while. And then, all sorts of stupid things happened because of that. And in the end, I bought the car for $8,000 in 2007, put in $3,500 for belts, water pump, front engine reseal and all that. Drove it a lot, and it still mechanically was great. But then my modification was to make it lighter and do all this. And I just I didn't think it through. And I couldn't sell the car for almost anything. So I asked for, surprise, surprise. So I asked $4,000 on Craigslist. I got some creepy, weird people, somebody who impersonated me calling a local salvage, because I told him, you're not going to pay me, $1,500. Like, I already know the salvage yard will pay me $1,500. So I'm just going to take it there. He called in, said, hey, my name's Damon. I have a 944 S2. How much would you give me for it? And then he started emailing me and cussing me out for taking it. So I just, $1,500, $8,000 car, maintenance when I first got it, more maintenance because, 25, 30,000 miles, 5 or 6 years later. But I ended up, I could only sell it for $1,500 to a salvage yard before moving out here to PCA.
Wow.
So I had to make a decision, keep that car or keep the wagon, which is what I ended up driving over.
Yeah.
But yeah. My worst modification was trying to strip it down into a lightweight street legal track car and not really having a plan for it.
Right.
Or doing any research.
And then trying to sell it.
And then trying to sell it.
It's a very limited market.
When I was forced to.
Yeah.
So really bad.
All right.
Somebody enjoyed it. The person who bought it from a salvage yard whole was a friend of a childhood friend and their family. He turned it into the track car I always wanted to. Coilovers in the rear. He's took out all the joint sealer, sprayed it down with some nice paint, put a cage in it. Yeah, monoball suspension, Delrin bushings.
So it survives. It lives today.
Yep, it lives today. He sold it to somebody else who's racing it, I believe.
Oh,
so
all right. Well, that's
long story. Not really a modification, a failed attempt. At
Oh, that's a good
modifying
tidbit to share with others so that they don't go down that same road.
Have a plan and know that you're not going to get your money back.
I think I have an idea of what Manny's story might be, but go ahead. You start.
Oh, I guess it would surprise me because let's see, the worst modification is probably aero, and I see other people do this. And
aero on your race car?
Yeah. I see, or really your street car. I chuckle when I hear people say, "Oh yeah, I can feel it. Definitely, it's got more downforce on the on ramp." And I chuckle to myself. And I chuckle to myself because I had a 964 I raced, and when I moved up a class for bigger brakes and wider wheels, I could also put a wing but you had to have like a factory wing. You couldn't put a big wing like the GT
factory
cars.
style wing.
Factory style. So
Yeah.
you could put a 3.8 RS wing, which is the
Oh, yeah.
blade is pretty low. It's not the key is to have the blade almost the height of the roof to be effective.
Clean air.
Yeah, and Mike Levitas had told me that. He said you're not going to feel much difference. Looks cool, but
Yeah.
you're not going to feel. And sure enough, I didn't, and it was very evident in the lap times. You know,
Yeah.
There was nothing. And I put a front splitter on. It was a huge front splitter. A factory never made it, but just looking at it, you're thinking this has got to give me a lot of front end grip.
Yeah.
During the Sebring Club race, it fell off. That somehow it fell off. And my line is so consistent, evidently, that the next lap I ran it over. Now this is turn 17.
And you didn't even notice when
those
it fell
people are
off?
familiar with turn 17. You could probably put like 14 cars abreast
Yeah.
to go for turn 17, at least the entrance of 17. And I remember getting on the radio to whoever was helping me out, being crew chief, saying, man, people are losing body parts. I just ran over something. And when I come to the paddock and I realized my front splitter's missing. But I looked at my lap times to see, I wonder if I lost time.
Yeah.
Exact same lap
No
times.
difference. No difference.
And a friend of mine lost his later on at VIR. And I told him, I said, Charles, look at your lap time. I'm just curious to see what your... He was like, my laptop it didn't change one bit after I lost a splitter. And I'm like, he's like, I'm not putting it back on.
Yeah.
So aero is a tricky thing. And God bless if you feel it and you think you feel it, because
It makes you drive better because you feel it. You think you feel it.
whatever. But aero was never a satisfying modification.
I'll also say something here. So GT3 RS, the new one, 992, has some pretty crazy aero. You see journalists drive it, and they're having a lot of fun, and they're obviously in some way pushing mechanical grip when they're doing all the sliding and all that. Go and watch Jörg Bergmeister driving at Silverstone in that car. There is no way 99% of the people who do aero mods even have the guts to drive a car fast enough to feel what's going on.
Absolutely.
Or the skill.
Absolutely.
So,
So the best mod, without a doubt, and the most bang for your buck, short of taking a driving school, is tires.
Tires.
Tires made the biggest difference. When I went to our compound tires for autocross, I picked up like 2.5 seconds.
Oh, yeah.
I felt like Superman. I could do anything with these tires. And so then after that, every other modification becomes tenths of a second. And with the amount of money you spend in it, but it all adds up. And club racing, I didn't do it all at once. I did it gradually with the suspension, different parts. I remember putting on my front strut brakes because everyone was putting front strut braces and it looked cool. Later on, I came to understand that on the 964, you wanted that front end as soft as possible. So the last thing you want to do is put a strut brace to make it even more stiff. I didn't really understand back in the beginning what understeer and oversteer were. So
Right.
I was actually making my life worse by putting a front strut brace. So people would look in the car like, you don't use a front strut brace? And I would be like, no,
Nope.
I want that front. I said, my sway bar is at the softest setting in the front. It's the car does not need more understeer.
Wow. So my mod has to do with a little bit of my background with my 5-liter Mustang. So as you know, some cars are built with inefficiencies built in, and a 5-liter Mustang from the 90s era is certainly one of them. One of the first things that people do when they buy a Fox body Mustang is just lop off the headers and get exhaust, and you really do unleash a significant amount of horsepower. So when I went to my 87 911, I was so excited, but it had stock exhaust and it was rather quiet. And I said, well, what's better than stock exhaust? How about just bypassing it all and just doing a muffler bypass pipe? And one, it saves 40 pounds because it's a 10-inch piece of pipe versus the whole muffler in the back.
Yeah.
You can get a bigger diameter, and it'll be cool. So literally took not even an hour to take the old one off and bolt this muffler bypass on. Goodness gracious. I never thought a 6-cylinder motor could sound so obnoxiously loud.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure my neighbors didn't like it either. It lasted, I think, maybe a week. And I was like, this is no better. In fact, the car felt slower.
Oh, yeah.
Because maybe it didn't have enough back pressure or whatever it was. But that was the worst mod.
I always find it funny when people, and not all, but usually, the American muscle car crowd, every once in a while, you'll hear one that just like get idle pulling away from a stoplight, and it gives it a few revs, to let the clutch out, and it's not even a tone or a pitch. It's just like sharp noises going through the air and like hurting your ears.
Some of the late model muscle cars just don't sound good when they're uncorked.
They're just louder.
Yeah, they're just loud.
They're just loud.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe we're getting old. Maybe that's what
probably
it is.
am.
To them, it sounds amazing.
Oh, I think it's definitely age.
Yeah.
I mean, really,
Age is
because
part of it, for sure.
When I was young, I thought anything loud sounded good, and now I drive a 964 that still has both the mufflers on it. Usually you take one muffler out at least.
Yeah.
And nope, I'm like, screw it. I just
Now, my best mod, I feel, and I'll agree with you, Manny, out of all the stuff that we're talking about, modify things as you wish. It's your car, and I modify everything I have just because I like to tailor it to my personality. But the best thing any of us can do, and if you do this, you can enjoy it in any car that you drive, is spend more time driving, learning how to drive. Go to a driver's ed, go to an autocross, go to a driving school. And honestly, I really do enjoy driving any car. It could be a minivan to whatever, but sometimes when you come to the on-ramp, and if you know how the car should, you should set, you should know what oversteer and understeer is, you know what you're looking for in terms of traction or when to apply gas, throttle, and or brakes. Like, that just makes the driving experience much better. So
you're gonna go with driver mod?
No. So
Okay.
that's
How predictable.
That's predictable. That's overall. But for me, I love having fixed-backed seats. Like I fell into a set of Sparco Evo 2s. They just fit me well. It's like, even if the car's stock, like my 996 is pretty stock, Chesapeake stock, but because I have those seats in it, feels like I'm in a fitted suit and just not having to fight flopping around when you're driving at speed. And also you're saving a lot of weight too. Like a fixed back seat weighs probably not even a third of a factory motored and whatever seat.
30 pounds versus like 60 or 70.
They look cool. They feel great.
If you fit them right, like I drove my car, here to California and back in fixed back fiberglass buckets, and they're really comfortable as long as they fit.
If they fit you, once you're in, you can drive across country, not a problem.
And they're good seats.
Good
They're
seats.
good seats. Yeah.
Maybe bring, like, before a long road trip, make sure, like my Momo Super Cups and the XLs are great, except the very bottom padding,
It's
like
thin.
where your butt is really thin. So maybe bring a pillow or something.
Yeah,
I drove my Recaro SPGs, which now are the same as pole positions.
Yeah.
All the way from the East Coast to Denver. And I thought, boy, every 2 hours I'm going to have to be stretching and taking some pain pills. Nothing. It was.
When they fit you,
They
fit
support you
They
better,
support you.
right?
In my head, I'm thinking, well, if they use these same seats in the Porsches that are doing 24 hours, they've got to be somewhat comfortable. And it was to me that said, this is why you spent the extra money to get good seats. Because
absolutely.
they didn't give you any pain at all.
Now, the caveat is getting in and out of them. Getting in and out of them.
Nowadays, back
fit,
then I
that's
was much younger, so I was more flexible.
There's definitely a method to get in and out of them comfortably.
Left hand on the
The
door
sit.
sill,
Yep.
and that's what you lift yourself with.
Exactly.
Yep.
That's what I do. But yeah, once you're in, they're comfortable. So hopefully you enjoyed that best and worst mods. If you have a best and worst,
Well, we haven't talked about our best mod.
He did. What's your best mod?
Olin's road and track coilovers and suspension system.
I'm gonna have to. Agree.
I'll say suspension system.
That was
in
the
general.
best mod I
I
think
was
you've
going
done.
to
on
say,
your
plus
car.
you had Olin's helping you do it.
No, I did it myself.
I thought they installed it. They
No,
put
I
it on
installed
the
it.
shaker. Didn't they put it on the shaker?
They put it on the shaker, but I installed it.
Yeah, but
He installed
the
it,
shaker
but
part is the
they helped you dial it in and everything though.
Sort of. So the shaker basically told us that the car might benefit actually with a.
It's not a bad thing. I'm very jealous. I would love to have
no,
more.
no. But I put it on there, but they put it on the shaker, and that was just to see what is it like, stock suspension versus soft Olin's, mid Olin's, and stiff Olin's.
yeah.
And we figured out, that there are certain settings that seem to work better with the car. So
Because simply putting a coilover suspension system. I saw this on Reddit. And I think it was a BMW because I belong to a BMW Z3. And somebody was saying, why I see everybody putting coilover. Should I put it on my car? And there was some very good responses. It was, what are you trying to fix?
Yeah.
This could be the worst thing you do to your car if you're not used to what to expect. And I'd agree 100%. I mean, people could make their ride just terrible. And that's why we had Mike Levitas and TPC set it up.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, this guy knows 964s.
And lower is not necessarily better.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Looks good.
Looks good. Yeah.
Yeah.
For the
When
stance crowd.
when I lowered it by hand, I lowered it way too
you
low.
had it in the weeds.
So luckily, Mike corrected it and saw it was a great look. But the ride is just incredible in that car.
So the whole project, your Olin's project on your Cayman, I mean, I've always been, cognizant of how it's a system, and like Manny said, what are you trying to do with a car? But Olin's really showed me, like, if you have the right tools to put it all together and match everything up, not only the system, but then also to your car. Because after they did that, driving your car, and I've driven a lot of GT cars, and your car not only handles like a GT car, but it's also still very, very compliant, which is weird because you think a car that has to handle well has to ride like a race car and has to ride like crap on the street. But yours rides very nice. It's not super soft, but it rides nice.
So remember I drove your 996 to the shop near me?
Yeah.
And you said, what'd you think about it? And I said, this thing is wandering all over the highway.
Oh, yeah.
It was the scariest 45 minutes I would hold the steering wheel. And I was fighting it.
Why were you driving it again? I forget.
Because you were going to get, because you had something with the suspension you didn't like. And you were going to get aligned or something.
Yeah.
But it wandered all over. And that's the kind of thing where if you don't know what you're doing for setup.
Okay, I do because when I bought the car, it had a different brand suspension on it, and then I eventually put on what did I put? I put on Ibach springs and Bilstein B6 shocks or something like that, and it needed to be realigned. So, but before that, the suspension that was on it, I think it was stock shocks with some aftermarket springs, and it was really wallowy. And Manny was right. Like if there was like a little dip in the road or something like that, it would just.
I think you got used to it, but
it just wanted to send you into like the exit. I mean, it was bad. Yeah.
Yeah, not a good idea to do lowering springs in those shocks. I mean, there's some springs if you're lowering less than 20 millimeters. I think I've heard you can use stock shocks.
And that's the thing is, if you're going to get into doing shocks or changing your suspension anchor, consider doing the whole thing and how much that's going to cost to do it right, and not just piecemeal it because you'll just make it a worse ride. You'll make it lower, or it'll look better, but
buy all the stuff. But if you do it yourself, like I did anti-roll bars first, and then I did the suspension, and then I did the square tire setup. So
that's better because at some point, if it goes south, you know what caused it to go south.
Right.
If you do it all at once, you're like, what did I do wrong?
Yeah.
It's hard to trace back.
So before we move off of this subject, obviously I need to gather parts for fixing the Cayman's AC compressor. I have the compressor, but the wire in there stuff. So I emailed Charles Navarro, since he LN Engineering sells the IPD plenums. So my current plenum is 74 millimeter. I could also go with the 74 millimeter IPD plenum, or I could go with 82 millimeter IPD plenum, get an 82 millimeter GT3 throttle body.
Ooh.
The power would be made up top, and it wouldn't be a ton, but maybe, like if I'm lucky, 20 from what it seems like, which is a lot.
That's
but
a
all
lot.
up top. Not really worth it to go the 82, except what if I get an E85 tune in a few years where I can switch back and forth? And there is where the 82, and that's straight up horsepower.
Where do you get E85?
Royal Farms.
They have E85 here?
Yeah.
It's 88. It's called the 88 one. You ever seen the Octane?
Oh.
And it says 88 on it?
Yeah.
That's
it?
the 85. Yeah.
Yeah. So that obviously is not something you might want to run all the time, and it's less power dense than gasoline, but it's cooler. You can fit more in.
So why wouldn't you want to run it all the time if you could have it all the time?
It's corn fuel. It's bad for bore scoring. It's bad for it's the sort of stuff where you don't want it.
It
sitting
sounds
in
like
your fuel
bacon.
Well, no.
It's good for you. It tastes good, but it's long
you don't
term.
want it in your fuel system all the time if you want your fuel system to last. And there are probably some
really?
modifications I would need to do to make
just
it
like bacon.
worthy. But I'm thinking, I start now. It can't hurt having the top end power from an 82 millimeter throttle body. And if I ever did want to go E85, have a tune,
Man,
That would be interesting
50 horsepower?
to do a run on Mike's
the
Yeah.
dyno, on the
TPC's
dyno to
dyno
see.
before and then after, and see really what.
I mean,
That's actually a
you're
good idea.
you know who you're asking, right? While you're in there, if you're gonna have to replace it anyway, why not replace it?
Why not just do
What's
it?
the downsides of
But if
replacing?
it's real
World
horsepower,
Yeah.
there's a lot to be
The
said
only
for it, you
downside
know?
is I might lose a little mid-range in my
Mid-range
current
punch?
setup. Yeah, it'll be top end power if I go bigger throttle body.
Well, it depends. That's kind of critical for you because low range and mid range punch is kind of important to you in autocrossing.
He's encouraging you because you may have a chance to beat you now. If you run cornfield.
I think you should go to a 60 millimeter throttle.
Oh yeah, a restrictor plate. Yeah, we'll see. I've been thinking about that.
Yeah.
Would be interested to hear what.
No, but
commenters have to
I would
say.
go for the big one.
Yeah, might as well,
for the
right?
future.
Like a little more horsepower,
While
maybe
you're
a
in
little less
there.
torque, but
Yeah, but more importantly, ask Mike.
yeah,
Ask Mike.
yeah, true. I'll go ask him as well.
Ask Mike
Yeah,
and-
Charles
and-
basically
and
said
Charles,
I
and
wouldn't
Charles.
do it
Yeah.
because it's top end power, but I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah,
true.
well, see,
but
yeah.
E85 down the line, that would
Yeah.
help. I don't know. We'll see.
Remember that mod they used to sell on TV, the improved power and gas mileage. I think, was it called the Tornado?
The tornado, yeah. The little
It-
Venturi thing that you put in
Yes.
your intake. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why are you thinking about that?
When you sent the text message about worst car mods,
Oh.
I wonder how many people bought those
Thinking
and thought,
that it's going to do something.
and then when they realized they were still going to the gas station as often, that maybe it wasn't.
All right, so maybe this is a great time to throw up our newsletters. If you haven't joined eBrake News or Mart Fresh News or Performance News, head over to pca.org and sign up for these newsletters. You know, great information direct to your inbox. Of course, it's free. But of course, we'd love it if you became a member. If you're not, and of course, if you're watching this on YouTube or listening to it on a platform where you can like, comment, and subscribe, we'd certainly appreciate it. We're getting super, super close to 80,000 subscribers on YouTube, and next stop, the 100,000 mark. So thank you,
Yeah,
everyone, for your support.
Before we fully transition from the mod, I would love to hear in comments people's best and worst mods.
Yes.
Because we asked for questions, and we got some good questions for the interviews
Yep.
at Rennsport. So I would love to hear people's. You got to be honest.
You got to be honest. We love you for the things you do well and the things you do not so well. All right, let's talk about the videos recently dropped. Crazy Porsches in the Audrain collection.
Yeah, so the Audrain Museum in Newport, Rhode Island has a lot of Porsches as part of their collection. I actually didn't count how many we have in
lot.
this video. Probably 10, 12 maybe.
More than that. And it's always changing.
Yeah, but they're more than that. In this video, we only highlighted the more significant ones. And I mean, when I say significant, I know Donald walks right next to a 997.2 GT3 RS and then focuses on another Porsche
Yeah.
and totally bypasses it. So, but that's just sort of, the level of cars that they have at the Audrain. And so if you want a cool look into all types of Porsches from over the years and a quick rundown of them and what you might be able to see if you ever visited the Audrain Museum, this is a great video. We did this because collections and sort of walkarounds that incorporate a lot of different Porsches that have different styles and mods or paint, color, seem to do well on our channel. So we hope you enjoyed this one. Give it a like if you like it. Subscribe to our channel.
Yeah, Donald's a great host. He is a walking encyclopedia of not only Porsche knowledge, but as you can imagine, the Audrain collection has many marks in that collection, and he knows the details of all of them. I don't know how he can contain all that information in this. And I think this would be a great opportunity for those of you that are on the East Coast and not able to make it to Rennsport next week. Next week is also the Audrain Motor Week.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Wow.
So for those of you that are on the East Coast and can't join us at Rennsport, head up to Audrain. You'll definitely see some Porsches. Some of our members that aren't able to head west will certainly be there. And
We did not plan that, actually. This video, we filmed. It took a while to film because not all the cars are there at the same time.
Yeah.
So to get B-roll, it took a while. But we released this video late last week, and I had no clue that the Audrain Motor Week was coming
absolutely.
up.
Because
That's good timing.
normally we would be up there with the Northeast region. The Northeast region has a wonderful concours. Last year I went, and unfortunately it was really rainy, but the Rhode Island, I mean, man, the sights and the bluffs and being near the water, it is just beautiful up there.
You smell money.
Yeah, absolutely. The smell of money in the air. The next one is a video that we recorded during Parade. Was it Parade or was it Tech Tactics?
Parade.
Parade. Okay.
Yep. Background. It was a behind-the-scenes look. They have two people from Porsche, one of which was a project manager for the 73 RS tribute package that was available for the new GT3 RS, and it's very interesting. It covers a lot of things, everything from what it took to design the side pod logo that has the American flag, which is the first time they've done that. It was interesting because they had the flag. They didn't realize that the flag changes direction when whatever it's going to be put on is in movement. Mm-hmm. And so Michael Tam had explained to him the American flag code. And so it wasn't simply as turning around the flag. They had to redesign the R, everything, because they had to switch the flag around. So it was like little to no time because they did this whole project so fast. And you get to see how much it changed from the prototype that we saw at Monterey to the actual production vehicle. You geek out on little Porsche details and, as they say, little Easter eggs they put in it. This is a great video to watch.
So there are obviously very limited numbers, and I believe these are all sold out, right? The Heritage ones?
I would imagine so, yeah.
So the question is, because I've seen this online where people are lucky enough to actually own a GT3 RS, quote-unquote standard version, do you think they could kind of make something that looks similar to it?
Sure, why not?
You mean Porsche exclusive?
No. Just like an individual. Let's say you have a GT3 RS, but you weren't able to get the Heritage Edition.
General look would be pretty easy, I think.
Like you could wrap the mirrors, you could get the decals, you could paint your wheels. Mm-hmm. You could kind of come close to it.
Yeah.
The question is, when people ask you, "Oh, this is one of those rare,"
would you get tired of that?
Yeah.
No, it's a tribute.
I think there's so many options to individualize your car. I don't know. I never thought of it. Somebody copying the.
Someone was asking that. They said, "I really want one, but
if Porsche hadn't done the tribute package, that wouldn't be an issue, because you wouldn't be copying them, right?"
Right, but hey, I mean, if you really wanted one and you knew you're never going to get an allocation,
you just have to run the risk of people thinking you own something you don't.
I used to feel bad because I ran the RS 3.8 RS wing on my race car.
Yeah.
And the end plates have 3.8 embossed in them.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, I feel
like a poser.
Could have get a 3.6 because I don't have a 3.8
like a poser.
car.
Yeah. That's like my 996. Like it's not a GT3, but I have a GT3 body kit on it. So
they sold it as an aero kit.
I know,
right?
Say, So, but I don't want to do anything else to try to hint that it might be a GT3. Like I don't want to do the color schemes of a GT3.
E36 325 IS with M3 on the back.
Yeah, exactly. Like I don't want
people that take 996 turbos and make them look like GT2s. It's
yeah.
frustrating to me because I'm thinking, oh my god, a GT2, it's really rare.
Yeah.
And then you look at certain things, you're like, wait a minute, this is a 996 turbo with a GT2 bumper and rear wing.
No, I don't like that. I don't like that. It's got to be
usually
legit.
The sunroof is a giveaway.
Yeah. All right, let's get into some Porsche news. The first one up, this is where the Boxster and Taycan kind of cross paths because we're looking at spy shots of the interior of the new Boxster EV.
Yeah, so this is the car I think we're all excited about, is the when they finally come out with the production version of the Boxster Cayman EV. And it looks like it's going to look very much like internal combustion. I mean, that's the future of Porsche, the all-digital dash. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's good to see they're not... Sometimes electric cars, they want to make... It seems to me like they want to look too electric than they should. And this looks right in keeping with Porsche's...
So I have a counterpoint. We can't tell with these fabric cloths covering part of the... Particularly the driver instrument panel. You can't see the top of it. You can't see... It looks like it's curved a little bit, like in the Taycan.
Yeah, I think it's curved.
And it's, I can't tell if it's not only is the screen curved, but the top profile of it.
I think the top will be like an RS60, where you don't have the hood on top. I think it will just be a curved panel.
So here's what I don't want to see, and you can't quite tell. You know what the new Mustang panels look like? It's literally two rectangular panels, and it just looks like you could have pulled it from a parts bin.
I don't think it'll be like that. I think it will still look tailored. Happen. But I don't think it will have a hood across the top. I could be obviously. I could totally
those
be
black cloth curtain things. They keep those on the car, even inside Wysock. I remember when
Yeah.
we were there and
Satellite images.
they had a 992, and I'm like, hold on a second. I made them stop the car, and I got out.
Yeah.
I said, I want to peer inside because at the time that was a big thing. Was what's the 992 going to look like interior wise?
You know what's the one?
And they had it all covered up. I'm like, inside of Wysock, they keep this covered up.
The one thing that is sad to note is the twisting of the left key will no longer exist in these cars. It'll all be hopefully a button on the left, but no more twisting of a key. That's kind of sad.
We'll have our vintage cars that
Yeah.
we can.
But counter to that, I was thinking the other day I was driving somewhere and I forgot what it was, a Lucid wagon or something like that came by. No, it just came by so quick and so quiet. I'm like, that's kind of cool. I was thinking, well, and it looked kind of big and hefty or whatever. I'm like, and then later this news came out. I said, I wonder what the driving experience is going to be like, where you have the power and the smoothness and the quietness of an EV, but you have a drop top Boxster, you have handling. Like, imagine like diving into the corner of an exit ramp now and it's just silent, but you still have all that speed. Like, that's gonna be really different than
You're
what we're
going to
used
have
to.
a lot of noise. You're going to have tire noise, road noise.
Wind noise with the top down.
Yeah. It's not
I don't
gonna
know.
It's not going to be quiet. It's not like you're suddenly deaf and you can't hear.
You go from a gasoline indoor cart to an electric indoor cart, and yeah, they're different, but you get used to them pretty quick. Like, I don't think it's going to be too crazy.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. And when I'm karting electric carts,
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
you can still hear the screeching of the tires, so you know you're scrubbing speed off.
Right.
But the sound isn't silence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
Remember when we watched I think you were with me at Road Atlanta during the Petit Le Mans, they were racing diesel Jettas.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And you could not hear the engine.
No, they were so
but
quiet.
you heard nothing but tire
Yeah.
noise.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm excited to see what that experience is going to be like.
Yeah, so am I.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about. Oh, speaking of sound, the next news item has to do with a trademark claim.
Yeah, Porsche was trying to do what Harley tried to do back in the mid '90s, like when Harley tried to trademark their distinct sound, and promptly 6 or 7 other motorcycle manufacturers said not so fast, and ultimately Harley in 2000 dropped the push to get their trademark. Porsche was trying to get their trademark sound. Also, their distinctive sound also trademarked, and doesn't look like they're.
Is
going
it like
to.
the whirring sound of the electric motors they were trying to get trademarked?
I think just the flat 6 type of sound.
Well, so this is just synthetic engine noise.
synthetic engine.
It's required in electric cars for them to make noise. So what Porsche did was try and trademark this noise, but it was too general of a noise. So the risk here is that what if somebody comes up with a noise that's close?
Yeah.
In Porsche, you have to pay Porsche money to use it.
I see,
I think
see.
it wasn't distinct enough for the trademark to go through.
Nice try, they said. Although I
Yeah.
think some people took offense because they were trying to compare it to the opening of Beethoven's Fifth.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Dun,
Wow.
dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because the headlines for these, it makes it sound like the sound that Porsche tried to trademark didn't sound Porsche enough.
Porsche enough. Yeah.
But no, that's not the case. It's that it didn't sound Porsche enough, but it's too general. So they
general of
don't
a
want
sound.
all these automakers to come out with a sound that sounds similar.
Yeah.
Then they can't use it because there's a trademark on it.
I see.
It's
I see.
kind of what.
All right. The
Sounds
next news item is actually one to celebrate. Battle on the bricks.
Oh, yeah. So I watched this race on TV like most of us did. Very exciting. It was Porsche's weekend all the way, from practice to qualifying. And it was an exciting race to watch. And this is what I commend IMSA for doing. They've made a very fun, competitive series, something the WEC needs to take note of, because the WEC is always like a slaughter with Toyota. Unless Toyota has mechanicals, they're going to win. Almost like Red Bull and Verstappen.
Yeah. Which, spoiler alert, there was.
Yeah, finally we said we had a changing of the guard for one race. Yeah. Anyway, so Porsche did phenomenally well. It was at Roger Penske's Indianapolis Motor Speedway. So what a better place to do another 1-2. And now this finale comes to Road Atlanta for Petit Le Mans. I think there's 3 or 4 manufacturers that any of them could win. the manufacturer's title. So it is going to be really fun to watch. But the two 963s, number 6 and 7, they went back and forth, and number 6 finally won. Felipe Nasser, unfortunately. So they go out in cold tires, and anyone who watches F1 knows they've got these tire warmers to keep their tires nice and toasty. And at the last second, they pull them off. Not so much with IMSA racing. There it's cold tires. So when they come out of those pits, those tires feel like you're driving on ice. Ooh. And you can tell because they are just struggling to keep up while at the same time getting heat in these tires. And it's going to take maybe 2 laps before they can get some decent heat in. And so Mr. Nasser went off track, and that let Nick Tandy in front, and so they ended up winning. But the good news is that Porsche finished 1-2, and so we'll welcome the victors at Rennsport. The whole team is going to be there at Rennsport with the car. They loaded the car right away, and they're shipping it out to Laguna Seca, so it's going to be fun to talk to these folks. They're all coming to the PCA Porsche Platz at some point during the weekend, too.
And I'm sure we'll get to see the 963 run around Laguna for demonstration laps.
Yes, and the 919 will be there doing demo laps, but not the 919 Evo.
Oh,
The 919 Evo is going to be there, but
Yeah.
evidently it's like $100,000 to get
to
this
run
thing
it.
to run it, and they were like, well, you know what, the regular hybrid is good enough.
static display.
We're
fine.
not setting any more track records. We can do the regular 919.
Okay. Speaking of hybrids, the new Panamera gets a new hybrid and suspension upgrade.
Yeah, it's gonna, I think, debut in November. And it's gonna be exciting to watch to see what they come out with. It's a bigger battery, bigger electric motor for the hybrids.
And I got to say, like, we had a early Panamera hybrid here, and then we had one more recently. And it's been amazing how the drivetrain in those cars have just been so much better than before.
Car and Driver reported here that the Sport Turismo uptake fell below 10%, so the wagon body style won't be a part of the coming lineup. How can you buy the sedan over the wagon? The wagon looks so much better.
That's the problem.
And so much more space.
That's the problem with us enthusiasts is we say that, but
If I had the money,
well, see, that's the problem. Is the people that are buying the cars do not want the wagon. I'm sorry to say it. I love wagons too, but guess what? The people that are buying the cars are buying sedans.
obviously,
because
yeah.
It's like colors. Everyone loves colors, but you talk
Yeah.
to the dealers, and they're like, yeah. When it comes time to signing on the dotted line, people are like, I don't think I live with that bright green.
Yeah.
I'll get the silver.
How can you not live with a wagon? Like,
Again, you're talking to enthusiasts here. We totally get what you're
It'll
saying.
be, and I
But-
guess maybe to Damon's point, it would be interesting to see what the breakdown is with the Chinese market, who are big Panamera purchasers. Do they
Probably not a
prefer,
wagon.
Do they prefer the
No,
I doubt
sedan?
that
Is the sedan more prestigious than
Definitely.
the wagon is?
That
it's,
wagon has the
to
same
us, the
stigma.
wagon's like super cool. It's,
Well, to us enthusiasts,
yes,
they're super cool.
that's what I
but
mean,
To,
but-
to the mainstream, it's not.
but for people who are buying it for status and looks,
You're not buying
maybe
a
the
wagon.
sedan is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be an interesting thing to ask Porsche.
That's how not sometimes. That's a lot of times you can tell when someone's driving a touring version or a wagon version of a whatever, be it Taycan or Panamera or an 3 Series or something like that. That person is usually an enthusiast. That's
Yeah.
how that
Yeah,
goes.
look at
don't get
Elko
it.
with his Mercedes, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Just doesn't make any sense. And then you go to the UK and everybody has a hatchback and a wagon and it's normal. Like, why can't
not here? Oh, why?
Anyway.
If you look at the numbers for
Yeah.
Civic hatchbacks versus Civic sedans, same thing.
Yeah.
Hatchbacks just don't sell. I don't know why. We got one because we are enthusiastic about it, but
And they only sell the SI in a hatchback. Or no, SI is sedan only. Never
exactly.
mind.
See,
Kidding.
right? So there's another point
Yeah.
there. They,
So save the manuals and save the hatchbacks.
not only did I do that with my wife's Civic hatchback, but my brother and sister-in-law, congratulations to them, they also found one that hatchback manual non-turbo 2-liter in Boost Blue.
Nice.
Yeah, he got it last week, so congratulations
Very
to
cool.
them. All right, let's see. What else? You want to wrap up with volunteer registration and parade laps, Manny, for Rennsport?
Well, volunteer registration is maxed out, so that's already closed. We got 600 volunteers. Porsche raised their eyebrows when we told them we needed 600 shirts, and PCA members did not disappoint. We got.
We'll be out there in force.
I think if we wanted to ask for 800 or 900, we would have gotten that much. We had Sharon Nidell, who was running the volunteer corps for us. She had to shut it down because we reached our limit. And thank you for everyone who's volunteering, even if it's just one shift. It's everyone helping out makes the event possible. And as I told my friends who I told to volunteer, if you got to park cars, think of it as cars and coffee. You're just going to be hanging out in the parking lot anyhow, so you may as well make new friends. It's other Porsche people, so it's not like you're stuck by yourself in a lot. It's going to be a bunch of Porsche people hanging out. The only difference is when a car comes, point out the parking spot and tell them that's where they can park.
That's it. All right. Well, if that's it, safe travels to everyone that's heading to Rennsport. For those of you that are not, again, we'll be capturing as much as we can. If we don't see you at Rennsport, we'll hope to see you at Unstock. That'll be November 12th in Vista, California, at HRE's headquarters. And thanks for listening. If you aren't currently a PCA member and you own a Porsche, grab that VIN, head over to PCA.org, and we'll set you up with membership. If you're looking to buy a Porsche, we have the test drive program. We'll give you access to all sorts of resources and make sure you get the right one. Remember to follow us on our podcast Instagram page, scenes, photos, Porsche Club Insider, all one word. Thank you all for listening, watching. We would love it if you give us a like, comment, and subscribe. We read each and every one. And if you want to send us an email, you can send it at podcast@pca.org. Until next time, stay safe, and we'll catch you down the road.